Let's wrap it all up today and go over everything you really gotta know about Chapter 5. If you want to support the channel, just leave this video playing in the background while you're doing your thing. Alright, let's dive in. Just want to say right away, despite some theories about Huggy maybe being a good guy or whatever, I'm more than sure he's gonna be on the prototype side and probably won't play a huge role in the new chapter. But we'll get into that in detail a bit later. I've already seen a bunch of theories about who's gonna show up in Chapter 5, and honestly, some of them just make me want to laugh. Some people seriously think that little chick from the Bunzo Bunny comic could be Poe, and just cause they showed him once, that means he's gotta be in Chapter 5? Come on! That theory makes me want to laugh and cry at the same time. And don't even get me started on the nightmare critters. They weren't even supposed to be part of the story originally. They were just thrown in to fill gaps. And yeah, their so-called leader, Baba Chops, was a total letdown. But somehow, the almighty and terrifying Poe is supposed to wipe us out in Chapter 5? Okay. Fan favorite Braun also popped up in theories about Chapter 5. But Isaac already said they kept trying to add him, and it never worked out. Then he mentioned that since they couldn't fit Braun into the story properly, they at least made that VHS tape you're looking at right now. So, yeah, no Braun in Chapter 5. And as for Pianosaurus making a comeback, that's a whole different joke. Just look at this response. It's pretty clear. Like the Nightmare Critters, Pianosaurus was never canon. So thinking about his return is just wishful thinking at best. Alright, looks like we've dealt with all the nonsense, so now we can move on to the more interesting possibilities. Y'all remember that mysterious hat they've been teasing for ages, right? By now, it's no secret that all those hints were leading up to one of the best characters in Poppy Playtime history, Doughy the Dough Man. And honestly, one of the concept designs even came kinda close to his actual look. But aside from all those hats, we once saw a weird image with some kind of silhouette hidden in it. Before the gameplay trailer dropped, we were sure those hats and that clown were pointing to a specific character, but now everything's changed, and this mysterious clown might actually be one of the new monsters. We know for sure it's not Doughy, so who the hell is this clown? If you follow fan-made content, you've probably seen a dude named Lulu the Clown, and I gotta admit, he caught my attention. Now, obviously, we're not going to see him exactly as he appears in fan concepts, but something similar could definitely show up in Chapter 5. We all know how much Mob Entertainment loves their Easter eggs and hidden references. That being said, I don't think he's going to follow Doughy's story arc. I seriously doubt they'll give us another friendly character who turns on us in the end. But hey, there's always a twist, and I actually have a really interesting theory about that, which I'll get into in just a minute. But before that, let's talk about one of the smiling critters. I came across a theory online about their return, and honestly, it kinda got my attention. I'll say right away, the chances are small, but they're still there. Everyone remembers that critter, Hoppy Hopscotch, right?
Wanna try hopping to the moon with me? On three with me. 1, 2, 3! Heh, didn't get very far, did we? Jump! Jump!
And back then, there were already tons of suspicions that Hoppy was still alive, and that her desperate scream wasn't because of the prototype attacking or anything like that, but simply because she jumped way too high. The following distortions also hint at this. Plus, one of the VHS tapes once again teases Hoppy.
Thanks, Doughy. Sorry we lost the supplies. It won't happen again.
The important thing is you're both okay. Aside from that bite, that is.
But let's be real, this theory has the right to exist, even though it seems pretty unlikely. What do you guys think about it? And of course, in Chapter 4, something happened that many had already suspected since Chapter 3. Olly actually turned out to be the prototype. Olly had been helping us for a long time, and we seriously considered him an ally. But in the final scene of Chapter 4, the moment many had been waiting for finally happened, while others were genuinely shocked by this plot twist.
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
an obvious question with an obvious answer.
That good old buddy Olly? Yeah. Turns out he never actually talked to us. Dude's probably been dead for a while now, and the prototype just straight up jacked his voice. Wild, right? I mean, Olly always seemed like this chill, helpful guy, but in the end, he kind of betrayed us. Well, sorta. So, if we lost someone like him, wouldn't it make total sense for Chapter 5 to throw in another Olly-type character? Hopefully this time, not just the prototype in disguise. And that's where the clown comes in. Why not, right? What if he takes Olly's place? We meet him at the start, he helps us out, seems all friendly, and then, boom, he backstabs us and hands us over to the prototype at the worst possible moment. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Now, the theory that Chapter 5 is going to be the grand finale is gaining more and more traction. And if that's the case, it's pretty much guaranteed we're finally going to face the prototype. Not much to say about him. Everyone's already convinced he's showing up, whether this is the last chapter or not. Huggy, though, that's where things get interesting. We know he's one of the prototype's minions, and it totally looks like he's going to be a villain in Chapter 5. But what if there's another side to this? We all know Kissy, and the fact that she's on our side is as obvious as needing water to survive. And if we go back to Sleep Well, we see shots of Huggy and Kissy together. They're actually really close friends. So some folks think Kissy might be able to change Huggy's mind and turn him into our ally. Personally, I don't buy it. Here's how I think it's gonna go down. Huggy shows up, door behind us opens, we manage to escape, running, and then poof, Huggy's gone. Later, we run into someone who looks like Lulu, we play through the game, Lulu betrays us, we finally meet the prototype. He disappears, then Huggy pops up again, we take him down, and of course, we get one final showdown with the prototype, and there you go. Quick recap of the characters we just talked about. Even though I mentioned how confident I am that Chapter 5 will be the finale, some fans, thanks to a message from Zach, think otherwise and believe we'll get at least 6 chapters of Poppy playtime. I gotta say, I think Zach was just messing around with us. Nothing more. Everything's pointing to Chapter 5 wrapping up the Playtime story, and that's why I'm so confident about it. Now, because some folks are holding on to the idea that there will be more than 5 chapters, a few of them brought up an old leak about an amusement park, and theories started flying that maybe this park will be the main setting for Chapter 5. But let me tell you, I'm 1,000,000% sure that the Prototypes Lab will be the main location, and that final VHS tape only backs me up on that.
Hi, my name is Lake Pierre, and I'm the head of innovation here at Playtime Co. If you're seeing this, you must be very, very lost. Well, rest assured, friend, our state-of-the-art laboratory is just up ahead. Why don't you just go on inside and tap one of our scientists on the shoulder? Tell them you're lost. They'll be glad to help. All right. Let's be honest. You're not supposed to be here. This is the single most high-security, high-clearance section of the whole factory. When someone finds you down here, you will be shot. And before you get any ideas, don't think you can just sneak away either. No, the second you put this tape in, it set off an alarm. So if anyone's home, they know exactly where you are. Pretty nifty, huh? Security is very important to us here. If I were you, I'd start running.
And of course, we can't forget about Poppy, who straight up ditched us at the end of Chapter 4. But honestly, it felt like everything was leading up to that, especially with Dowie, who had already gone through something similar. Her return is a given, and I doubt anyone will be surprised. We know Poppy wasn't feeling too great after the Hour of Joy, and that event pretty much pushed her conflict with the prototype to the absolute limit. That's why I'm convinced she's gonna play a major role in taking him down in Chapter 5. And I promised y'all I'd tell you which of the prototype's minions might be making a comeback. If Mommy Longlegs is an obvious choice,
What have you done? You make me part of it!
Huggy's definitely not coming back. That'd just be overkill. What's way more interesting is talking about the release date for the new chapter. Honestly, I'm 100% sure we're not getting the final chapter in January 2026. At first I was thinking maybe April or May, but considering they need to make this the most insane chapter yet, now I'm not even sure about those dates. It feels like late summer or September 2026 would be the best time to fully bring the game to life. But with certain factors, especially financial ones, there's a huge chance they might push for April or May, even if the game isn't fully polished by then. What do y'all think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. It all started with Poppy mentioning the Hour of Joy in Chapter 3, the root of all the horrors that unfolded at Playtime Co. Then, in our conversation with her, she revealed that the prototype's home is in the laboratories. After that, we got those strange statements from Dr. Harley Sawyer, the chilling VHS tape where Poppy spilled major secrets, the long-awaited full conversation with the prototype, Poppy's escape, and finally, Huggy's return, along with the certainty that the main setting of the new chapter will be that very lab, the prototype's domain. I think it's obvious to everyone that the prototype is our ultimate antagonist in Poppy Playtime. And considering everything we've discussed, our encounter with him is now inevitable, especially since they've been hinting at his grand reveal ever since Chapter 2. Come on! And after all this, you still think there could be anything after Chapter 5? To me, that would be complete nonsense, because the entire main storyline can be perfectly wrapped up in Chapter 5. And that's without even getting into Huggy, who definitely didn't return for no reason. Now, we can finally say with confidence, Chapter 5 has to conclude the story of Poppy Playtime, which means it's time to talk about who we might see again. I don't think anyone will be shocked if I say Huggy Wuggy. All right, we'll get to Huggy and his potentially major role later. But for now, let's talk about everyone else. Drop your own ratings for how likely each character is to return in the comments. But keep in mind, this is the final chapter, and everything will revolve around the prototype. The first so-called victim of the prototype, none other than Mommy Longlegs.
What have you done? You make me part of him! You can't do this to me!
What stood out to me the most were her words about not wanting to be a part of him. Judging by what's left of Mommy, it would be foolish to claim she'll return in Chapter 5 in the classic form we're used to seeing her. But let's not forget that Playtime's labs are home to mind-bending technologies. And now that the prototype is in charge, all their developments are literally in his head. That means, while it's small, there's still a chance that Mommy Longlegs might come back. She could appear as Mommy 2.0 or more likely as part of the prototype's body. But as the original Mommy Longlegs, we definitely won't see her in that form. Still, I'd love to see that pink beauty again. Aside from Mommy, there's another missing piece in the prototype's puzzle, Catnap, the circumstances of his death or maybe his survival, which still haunt me to this day. Take note of how this so-called incident unfolded. At first glance, it seems like the prototype's claw pierced Catnap's head completely, and it looks pretty obvious, but this is mob entertainment we're talking about. They're capable of anything, as we saw with Huggy. But take a closer look. Now, once more, the prototype's claw hits precisely the center of Catnap's mouth. And despite the blood, you can clearly see that no vital organ, specifically the brain or the arteries carrying blood from the neck, has been damaged. This makes it quite possible that Catnaps survived, and as a result, his return in Chapter 5 is very likely. I know this might sound crazy, but you remember we're dealing with the prototype and his labs. And if we're talking about Catnap, we can't ignore his complete opposite, DogDays. This guy was one of the most intriguing characters in Chapter 3, and thanks to him, we learned a lot of new things.
Come to save us. Nothing left to save. Not here. Nor at Catnap's home, Angel. Their home. A myriad pairs of eyes are on you now. Watching, waiting, hungry. They want nothing more than to crawl beneath your skin and eat away at you bit by little bit. Fill what feels empty inside themselves. That thing, Catnap, the prototype is his god, and this is what he does to heretics. We try to fight it, the prototype's control. I am the last of the smiling critters.
I think everyone felt a little something in their heart at this moment. But if we put emotions aside and think logically, DogDays is alive. His body was simply taken over by the mini critters. And if we remember the final scene with him, I didn't notice anything that suggested a fatal outcome for him. We easily escaped from him and shut the door right in his face, interrupting his chase. But he's still alive, and you probably can't argue with that. Unlike Miss Delight, who definitely won't be coming back, at least because we split her body into 2 parts. And honestly, she isn't important to the prototype like Mommy Longlegs for him to waste time and energy resurrecting her. I'm pretty sure we'll encounter DogDays again as an episodic monster trying to catch us, but we know that this time he'll probably meet the same fate as Miss Delight. And since we're talking about smiling critters, it would be a crime not to mention Hoppy Hopscotch, who first appeared to us in Chapter 3.
On 3 with me. 1, 2, 3! Heh, didn't get very far, did we? Again! 1, 2, 3! Nope, still didn't make it. Listen, this won't stop until we make it to the moon. 1, 2... No, don't look at your feet! None of that matters! Again! Jump!
Hey, what really got me hooked was that we don't hear any screams like we do with Bubba or Kickin'. But the devs decided to spice things up and keep us intrigued by showing a little snippet of her life in Safe Haven.
I need some help here! Hey, watch the door! Watch the door!
Right here. On the menu.
There you go, bud. You're okay. Okay! Look at me! I'm a mess!
Hoppy? What's going on?
We were trying to bring supplies back up to the elevator, but we got jumped. Had to turn all the way back around. So, what do we do now?
For starters, you two stay here tonight. Let things settle down outside. I'll find more food for you to bring up to play care. When you're ready.
Thanks, Joey. Sorry we lost the supplies. It won't happen again.
And it seems like nothing, just a small reference to an old character, and I'd agree with you if it wasn't for that damn note on the wall, where we find out that Hoppy disappeared and they can't find her. That's the real reason she's not in Safe Haven, and what's really interesting is that we haven't seen any solid proof of her death. So these references make you think that she might be, let's say, captured by the prototype in those very labs, and the chances of meeting her in Chapter 5 are pretty high. You can't just assume she was killed by Catnap or anyone else, cause no one, except the devs, knows for sure. And if you're curious whether any other smiling critters have a chance of coming back, after you're done with this video, check this one out, because I dive deep into all the fates of the smiling critters and their chances of returning with all the latest info. As for Chapter 4, honestly, I don't even want to talk about it. Yarnaby is a real idiot, and there's no point in expecting his return. Sawyer already did his part of the deal with the prototype, and honestly, all he probably wanted was to die, which we helped him with. Nightmare critters are just a joke that shouldn't have even existed in the first place, but then there's Pianosaurus. This 30 Seconds hero also wasn't even supposed to show up in Chapter 4, and devs just threw him in as a filler for the gameplay. But lately, a lot of fans have been pushing this theory that there are actually multiple Pianosauruses, and in Chapter 5, we might either see a second one, or, if you believe the whole musical band theory, maybe another member of his group. To me, that sounds like total nonsense, and I don't even want to waste time on it. But hey, let me know what you think in the comments. And if anyone's worried about Kissy Missy, don't be. She's definitely coming back, just like Poppy. But Huggy's return is what's really interesting. Not only is it super symbolic, since everything started with him, it makes sense for everything to end with him, but his role in our survival might actually be huge. So before I wrap this up, let me quickly drop a theory, and if you've got your own takes, hit up the comments. Huggy's gonna be a neutral character whose only goal is survival. He won't fight for our side, even though he's got a close bond with Kissy Missy, and he won't be on the prototype side, even though he started off as its pawn. His appearance is gonna be the key to progressing through the game. Think about it. Poppy escaped, Kissy's badly injured, and if we take into account what Leith Pierre said about the lab, there's no way we survive in there without a third party helping us. So maybe Huggy's gonna be that third party and help us make it to the prototype alive. We now officially know that the new chapter is definitely happening and seems to be in development. In this video, we'll break down everything hinting at this, and honestly, if it doesn't happen, Poppy's incredible legacy in the gaming industry could take a serious hit. We'll talk about that too. Chapter 4 has been dropping hints left and right about the story coming to an end. Let's start with the most obvious one. Everyone knows that the prototype is the main antagonist and the ultimate evil of Playtime Co. Oh, and by the way, there was a bit of drama on my channel recently. If you're out of the loop, here are 3 steps. Watch this video, read the comments, then check out my post in the community tab. Honestly, I appreciate all the feedback, but let's get back to the main topic. Starting from Chapter 2, the devs have been slowly preparing us for the prototype's reveal. Then, in Chapter 3, even more details pointed in that direction. But what stuck with me the most were Poppy's words.
They killed everyone. The guilty, the innocent, didn't matter. All that death didn't fix anything. The prototype has to die. For this. For everything.
Many people expected to see the prototype in Chapter 4, and videos on this topic racked up millions of views. To be honest, I was convinced it would happen too, but Chapter 4 didn't reveal much about him, aside from his silhouette. However, we did uncover a ton of other crucial information, not just about the prototype, but about Playtime Co. as a whole. Throughout Chapters 3 and 4, Mob Entertainment has been slowly preparing us for this long-awaited encounter, and with every hour of gameplay, we learned more and more. Based on the latest news regarding the prototype, we absolutely have to talk about Poppy as well. It's no secret that Poppy is our main ally. In Chapter 3, we started interacting with her more as she began revealing the history of Playtime Co. By Chapter 4, our encounters became even more frequent, and the build-up to the story's major events intensified. Now let's do a quick interactive segment. How do you think Poppy Playtime should end? Personally, I think it's pretty obvious. We don't need to dig too deep for answers. As Poppy has said many times, our main goal is to rescue the orphans and destroy Playtime Co., along with the prototype. And based on everything I've said so far, and what I'm about to say, Chapter 5 seems like the perfect place for that to happen. In Chapter 4, during our first truly serious conversation with Poppy, there's one incredibly important detail that practically screams that Chapter 5 will be the grand finale of our long journey.
The orphans weren't killed during the Hour of Joy. They were taken. They're below, in the labs. The prototype's home. They are alive, but sleeping. They're with him. And he knows we're here. So, if we're going to free them and stop the prototype, we need to plan for both at the same time.
Yes, yes. You heard that right. It's not really about the plan or the orphans. Of course, the real attention grabber was the mention of the prototype's home, some kind of laboratories. Well, not just some labs. The prototype's main habitat is none other than the infamous Playtime Co. labs, where Harley Sawyer and the other scientists conducted their horrific experiments on both orphans and employees. Now, let's take a moment for a brief VHS tape segment. Listen closely and try to answer this question. Why did the prototype choose these curse labs as its hideout?
Tell them you're lost. They'll be glad to help. All right. Let's be honest. You're not supposed to be here. This is the single most high security, high clearance section of the whole factory. When someone finds you down here, you will be shot. And before you get any ideas, don't think you can just sneak away either. No, the second you put this tape in, it set off an alarm. So if anyone's home, they know exactly where you are. Pretty nifty, huh? Security is very important to us here. If I were you, I'd start running.
The answer is pretty obvious. First, as Leith Pierre himself said, this location is the most secure area within Playtime Co., and we need to understand that secure doesn't just mean heavy security. It includes traps, codes, massive doors, and countless other defenses. Second, the laboratories are the perfect place to conduct experiments. And who knows? Maybe the prototype has been secretly creating a monstrous abomination all this time, one capable of wiping out not just us and our allies, but humanity as a whole. After Hour of Joy, we know exactly how it feels about humans after all the experiments performed by the scientists. Alright, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. At this point, I'm 1,000,000% convinced that the laboratories will be the main setting of Chapter 5. And if we take into account Poppy's plan, one that involves confronting the prototype, then the chances of finally encountering it in Chapter 5 are absolutely, insanely, unimaginably high. We'll get back to Poppy and the prototype later since they're the biggest keys to answering the main question of this video. But for now, let's talk about Huggy, who has officially made his return. We all remember that Huggy was supposed to die at the end of Chapter 1, and even more than that, everyone knows that Huggy is the face of Poppy Playtime. This whole story started with him, and come on, wouldn't it be insanely cool and symbolic if it ended with him too? For some reason, I'm convinced that Mob Entertainment planned it that way from the very beginning. And just like that, you've got another reason why Chapter 5 is shaping up to be the grand finale of Poppy Playtime. Also, it's no secret that Huggy is one of the prototype's minions. His return could be yet another sign that the biggest mystery of Playtime Co. is finally going to be revealed in Chapter 5. But now, let's circle back to Poppy and the prototype, so I can fully convince you that I'm right about all of this. First, let's recall what Poppy said about how she felt after Hour of Joy.
I thought we were gonna leave. Leave the factory. Not this. All those people. Prototype says we can't leave. Not now. Not ever.
I hate him. I hate him, and I hate this place, and I hate that he's... right. He explained everything, and he's right. We can't leave. It's too risky. What they did to us, we can't ever let it happen to us or anyone ever again. Doesn't make me feel better about the bodies, though. What he was saying about them. I know there's not really another option. The toys will starve otherwise. They'll die. But it's still disgusting.
So that's how we found out why Poppy's got such a hardcore grudge against the prototype. And at the same time, we got even deeper into the whole Playtime Co. backstory. But one of the most crucial moments in Chapter 4, no doubt, it's that convo between the prototype and Poppy, where we picked up a ton of new details.
This entire time, you've lied to me!
Only because you've kept missing the point.
I admit, though, I'm disappointed.
After all that time in your case, I'd hoped you'd see things differently.
Don't you understand?
It's always been about you
And we'll harm you. What we are. That's not a truth that can be brought away. It's time to come home.
I can't go back in the case. I can't. I'm sorry.
And of course, Poppy's escape and the total breakdown between us and the prototype was just the cherry on top of this madness. What can I say? The whole of Chapter 4 was setting us up for that big showdown with the prototype in Chapter 5, and that scene, it basically put a giant exclamation mark on that theory. That means all the remaining questions, which honestly aren't that many, will finally get answered in Chapter 5. And if we trace the red thread through this whole video, it's pretty damn clear Chapter 5 is gonna wrap up the Poppy Playtime story. If it's all leading up to the final battle for our survival, then why drag it out? Might as well make Chapter 5 a solid 5 to 6 hour experience to properly close every arc and let the devs move on to other games. What do you guys think?